forget that where we started from is a very long journey, but now the journey is steady. You heard the minister earlier on in that soundbite. The truth is what you have said, which is.
The NLC president, however, noted that steady supply of electricity and improved electricity services, especially in the availability of meters, are more important before contemplation of any tariff increase. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Meanwhile, members of the organized labor comprising the Nigeria Labour Congress, their trade union counterpart, and the civil society coalition have rejected the 45% electricity hike, which began on February the 1st. The rejection took place in a mass protest along major roads in the Abuja metropolis with a call for an immediate withdrawal of the policy or risk shutting down of the electricity companies. Emmanuel Ayemiro reports.
Motorists along major streets in Abuja metropolis had hectic moments reaching their destination in the early hours of Monday. This was due to the protests along the routes leading to the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company in Wuse Zone 4 and the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, where no officials were on ground to receive them. However, the unions called on the parties involved to obey court order, which directed that the status quo must be maintained.
Billing all over the world is based on consumption. You pay for what you consume. Why should we continue to pay for darkness? Why should we continue to pay where there are no meters? We call on Nigerians from today, they should resist payment of any bill that is based on estimation, that is also based on the current tariff.
If you don't step down this increase in your tariff, we are going to forever picket you every day. We shut the discos, we shut the junkos, and we shut the electricity regulatory agency in this country.
While at the National Assembly, the unions told the lawmakers that with the current economic realities, Nigerians cannot afford any increase in electricity tariff, especially when no improvement has been recorded in the power sector. The Senate President, Bukola Saraki, said discussions must start on the matter.
We will always stand for what will ensure the survival of the masses. We are not blind, we are not deaf, we can see the problems. Give us time, we will talk, executive, we will engage them and ensure that the right is done.
Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Nasarawa state government is to commence the immediate implementation of promotions to all deserving civil servants in the state from 2011 to date. This is part of decisions taken by the state government to end the industrial action in the state. Joshua Ojito has more.
The organized labor in Nasarawa State has done tool to press on their 21 demands, which include implementation of promotions for civil servants from 2011 to date, among others, the action which has paralyzed activities in the state. While government and labor leaders in the state have been meeting to reach a consensus to end the strike, the state government appealed to the organized labor to call off the strike, as government is already addressing some of their demands.
This administration has been faithfully paying workers' salaries in full since assumption of office in May 2011.
But chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress in the state, Abdullahi Adeka, insisted that implementation of workers' promotions should be backed with financial benefit and that labor is yet to take a decision to call off the strike.
What we are saying is simple. Let him implement the promotions, but let there be a little talking amount of money for the workers to feel, yes, they have received a paper.
Mr. Adeka appreciated the effort of traditional rulers in the state to intervene so as to end the strike, assuring them that labor is not against the state governments, rather working to improve the welfare of its members. In Lafia, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Back to Abuja. The frustration of litigants arising from court congestions and delays in litigation process can be addressed if lawyers and litigants embrace alternative dispute resolution mechanism. This was the thrust of discussion at a forum organized by the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators in Abuja. Aliu Tukur reports.
The president of the institute, Dr. Louise Brown, says employing the use of alternative dispute resolution will reduce the burden not only on the courts but also on the prisons, as some disputes are better resolved through alternative means.
So mediation, therefore, if imbibed by all practitioners, it will assist us in reducing court cases to some levels that we believe that people will have faster access to the justice that they want.
Litigation is such that at the end of the day, the parties are exhausted, they're bitter, they're impoverished. So there is need for options outside of litigation so that people can build and sustain their relationships and can live more harmoniously.
Sitting as a magistrate or a judge now, I've taken, sometimes when the disputes involve families, and you see that if this thing goes to litigation, it might create bad blood. So you advise them, say, in your own interest, so that you don't lose this family relationship or you don't lose your friendship, that you should settle this matter out of court. And I've settled many cases, even business cases, I've settled them out of court. When the issues are clear or is very narrow, so why do you want to waste time?
The training program will also examine the spectrum of ADR, strategic and professional ethics. In Abuja, Aliu Tukur, NTA News.
This is Nationwide on the NTA. More on Nigeria labor protests as we join Ademola in our Lagos Network Center. Ademola, it's over to you.
Thank you, Lydia. Good afternoon and welcome to Lagos. The Nigerian Labour Congress and members of the civil society groups took to the streets in Lagos to protest the recent electricity tariff by the federal government. Amechi Pius monitored the protest march to Ikeja Electricity Company in Lagos.
This exercise by the Nigerian Labour Congress and its affiliate members started as early as 7 o'clock in the morning. The vice president of the Congress, who led the protest to the office of the Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company in Lagos, told the media that the increase in electricity tariff is unfortunate and not in the best interest of Nigerians.
The promise made in the MOU signed in 2013, November 1st, is that within 18 months, provision of meter for all consumers. And as we speak to you, action has not been taken in that regard. And they want to be in a hurry to stipulate and enforce outrageous increase. We are saying no to it.
Given the importance of power to economic activities, such arbitrary increase, he added, puts more pressure on Nigerians who are already contending with poor and inadequate power, coupled with other challenges.
The reality is, from now till tomorrow till next tomorrow, we must continue to insist on what is right and just for the Nigerian people. Our people have suffered for so long.
A representative of the Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company, who addressed the angry crowd, urged Labour and civil society to continue to dialogue with government to finding a lasting solution to the problem. While the protest was on in Ikeja, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing was meeting with chief executive officers of the distribution companies and other stakeholders in Ikoyi, Lagos.
The truth is that this tariff, we ought to have been there from day one. And I don't know why the government of yesterday was not courageous enough to tell us this was the price. If you look at that tariff painstakingly, you will see that in about 2 years from now, it will begin to go down a sliding scale. It will get better. And I can only appeal for some understanding and some trust that we do this in the best interest of our country.
In Lagos, Amechi Pius, NTA News.
The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has ordered security agencies in Nigeria to compel the attendance of the former Niger Delta militant leader, Government Ekpe Mukpolo, otherwise known as Tompolo, in court. Justice Ibrahim Buba of the Federal High Court reiterated the order today in Lagos while ruling on an application challenging the substituted service of criminal charges on him. Viera Chiwamba, who was in court, has the details.
The former Niger Delta militant leader, Tompolo, is charged alongside former managing director of the NIMASA, Patrick Akpoblokemi, and 8 others. They are facing a 40-count charge bordering on the alleged conversion and theft of 13 billion naira belonging to NIMASA. Counsel to Tompolo Oyetibo at the resumed hearing informed the court that an application challenging the service of charge on his client has been filed on the 27th of January. Tompolo is challenging the substituted service on him based on the defect in the address of service. The prosecutor, Festus Keyamo, however, opposed the application on the ground that Section 96, subsection 2 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act frowns at hearing of such application and therefore cannot be adjourned. Justice Ibrahim Buba urged the counsel not to waste the time of the court on mere technicalities. Oyetibo, however, argued that his application does not attack the competence of the charge, rather, service of the charge. He told the court that the charge was effected on Agbanu Street instead of Agbamu Street, and therefore urged the court to hold that the service of the charge was not properly effected on Tompolo. Justice Ibrahim Buba dismissed the application and ordered security agencies in Nigeria to ensure that the order of the court for the arrest of Tompolo is carried out to the letter. The judge had, on the 12th of January, granted an order to effect service of summons and criminal charges on the accused. Further hearing continues on the 19th of February. In Lagos, Viera Chunwoba, NTA News.
The maritime sector has the capacity to boost the nation's economy and compete favorably with other advanced maritime nations. This was the view of members of the House Committee on Marine, Ports and Harbors when they visited maritime agencies in Lagos as part of their oversight functions.
The committee members noted that from their observation while going around the ports and the agencies, there is enough resources and manpower to move the maritime sector to where other advanced maritime nations are. They acknowledged the neglect of the maritime sector, but assured Nigerians that the committee will work assiduously to ensure that the economy is diversified to enable it to generate maximum revenue from the sector. At the Nigerian Shippers Council, the Executive Secretary stated that this is the best time to position the sector as an alternative to the country's source of revenue.
We have to arrest the flagrant abuse of Seaport Terminus Concession Agreement. These concession agreements, they are being hidden as if, there's something. This is a federal government thing. It should be left to the open. Let people look at them and criticize them. In our laws, we have been settled with the position of checking, what's happening with those agreements.
The committee members were also at the Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA. They were received by management of the Western Ports, led by the general manager who represented the managing director. The committee members visited some of the terminals and ongoing projects at the port and were informed of the various challenges confronting port operations.
It's obvious that this country can only go forward. We may have our challenges, but we have enough on the ground. We have enough in terms of manpower, we have enough in terms of resources to push this country to where Singapore is operating.
Community pharmacists are in direct contact with the people and so are better positioned to enlighten Nigerians on the causes, treatment and prevention of Lassa fever, as well as other killer diseases. This was the submission of speakers at a one-day seminar for pharmacists on the management of Lassa fever. Joy Ken Abakoya has the details.
Since the recent outbreak of Lassa fever in Nigeria, which has spread to more than 15 states, resulting in over 70 deaths, the nation's health sector has been on its toes, with stakeholders constantly meeting to map out strategies to combat and totally eradicate the menace. This group of pharmacists, under the aegis of the West Africa College of Pharmacists and the Association of Community Pharmacists, are gathered for that objective. The aim, according to organizers, is to reawaken the consciousness of this group of health workers to their all-important role in stopping further spread of Lassa fever.
It only behoves on us to empower ourselves with the right information about this disease condition, the proper things we need to do when we are confronted with this condition.
Speakers reminded the pharmacists of the need to constantly contribute towards public health, especially during outbreaks of epidemics.
On the issue of Lassa fever, we need to protect ourselves to be able to save lives.
If we're able to identify it now, teach people how to get about preventing themselves from catching it, I think it will be wonderful to help us curb it.
The one-day seminar was tagged Lassa Fever, Harmonizing Pharmacists' Response. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakboya, NTA News.
And that does it from this end. It's back to you, Lydia, for more on Nationwide. Good afternoon.
Thank you for your contribution, Demola. A more holistic reform in the Nigerian civil service, such that will increase capacity of the workforce, is being initiated by the federal government. The head of service of the Federation, Winifred Ekanem Oyoita, made this known at a reception held in her honor in Abuja. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday has the details.
That civil servants constitutes the bedrock of the economy is a popular belief that appears to be losing faith in itself. The recent declaration by President Muhammadu Buhari that his faith in the service is unshaken, however, restored the belief and confidence in the system. Building on the change mantra, Mrs. Oyoita at the get-together said a reformed civil service must symbolize efficiency, productivity, incorruptibility, and citizen-centered.
Financial reforms to improve accountability, to ensure value for money, reforms to do with the personnel structure, performance management system. How do we assess our civil servants?
We need to run a knowledge-based service. So we must do something about ever getting regimental training.
Some civil servants have serious problems, but all they want is somebody to listen to their problem and talk to them. You might not have to see all of them, but you can delegate so that they can move to the right people to talk to them.
The special get-together in honor of the head of civil service of the Federation was put together by her friends and close associates. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
From a reception to a Thanksgiving, Governor Wike has again reiterated his commitment to the development and welfare of the people of Rivers State. The instance was at a Thanksgiving service in Port Harcourt over the affirmation of his election victory by the Supreme Court. Ogedi Nyekwere completes the story.
There was no better way to say thank you to God over the Supreme Court verdict than to organize a service of intense worship and praises in appreciation of God's unfailing love and restoration of hope and peace to the state. Governor Wike, who was full of thanks and praises to God for stabilizing the state and restoring peace, appreciated all those who stood by him in prayers and words of encouragement. He used the occasion to reaffirm his commitment to ensure even development across the state. Most Reverend Ignatius Kati, who ministered, thanked God for the Supreme Court verdict, which has restored peace to the state, urging the governor to be a father to all. The occasion continued with a grand reception at Rivers State Government House, where some dignitaries at the event described the Supreme Court victory as a victory for the nation and restoration of hope in the country's judicial system.
We are here to offer a hand of solidarity and friendship.
Were hosted amidst pomp and pageantry as cultural troops, comedians, and some prominent Nollywood actors and actresses were on hand to add color to the event. In Port Harcourt, Ogedi Nyekwere, NTA News.
In order to strengthen Nigeria's democracy, political parties will need to fund their activities from within instead of depending on government funds to conduct their business. This was the view canvassed by guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria while discussing the funding of political parties. Oyeyemi Ajayi has the details.
The Electoral Act stipulates the amount of money to be spent by political parties in prosecuting any election. For example, the maximum that should be spent on governorship election is 200 million naira, while senatorial election is limited to 40 million naira. However, many political parties are known to spend way higher than what is contained in the book. The concern is that many politicians allegedly dip their hands into public funds for elections. This, the guests say, is unhealthy for Nigeria's democracy.
If there is a substantial proportion of the money that was spent during the last elections had been put into infrastructure, into developing our schools, into the roads, into railways, hospitals, and so on, that would have been more beneficial to us.
The guests agreed that parties should utilize constant payment of dues by party members, among others, to fund their activities.
The options are very, very clear. You either sell memorabilia or membership due. Or if, for example, if you are in office or you have a particular amount that you give back to the political party.
The political culture has to change. Nigerian political practices are over-monetized, and there is so much monetary expectation and inducement in getting people to do what ordinarily they shouldn't do.
They emphasized that parties' provisions for funding political parties must be enforced in order to ensure that all parties operate on a level playing field, as corruption will also be curbed. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
And now to our Sakwato Network Center. Sultan challenges customs on enlightenment, just as Kebbi State Government holds joint consultative meeting on education. Zainab is our guide. Hello Zainab, it's over to you.
Thank you for joining us. Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State says education is the major pillar that determines level of development in any society. The governor stated this at the 2015 Joint Consultative Committee on Education meeting held at the Presidential Banquet Hall in Birnin Kebbi, the state capital. Usman Abubakar Shehu reports.
Declaring the meeting open, Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu described education as the foundation for nation building and advocate for mass mobilization to support the sector for Nigeria's development. The governor emphasized that commitment of teachers and education managers is required and pointed out the need to review educational curriculum and prioritize religion to produce God-fearing society.
In traditional educational sector, we have to appreciate that the teacher should be at the central focal point.
Governor Bagudu said present administration is determined to restructure the sector. The chairman joined consultative committee on education, Dr. Ebenezer Olutayo Adeola, lamented how teachers' quality remain a major challenge in the collective quest to move educational system forward in the country. In Birnin Kebbi, Usman Abdullahi Shehu, NTA News.
Sultan Muhammad Saad Abubakar III has challenged the Nigeria Customs Service to embark on public enlightenment for people at the grassroots to know the impact of their services to the nation. The Sultan gave the challenge when he granted audience to the area comptroller, Nigeria Customs Service, in charge of Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara states on a courtesy visit at his palace. Jebi Ibrahim Ilele Daburi reports.
The Sultan, who assured the Nigeria Customs Service of his total support, said such sensitization will go a long way in making people to know more about their various plans of action. He said their efforts in generating revenue has great impact to the economic growth of the country. The monarch also called on them to be security cautious and join hands with other security agencies in maintaining peace and order across the nation's borders and beyond.
We want to achieve development, we want to go high up. We must abide by the laws of our country. And it's left for us, the law enforcement agents, to do what we are supposed to do according to the statutes.
The area comptroller, Nigeria Customs Service, Alhaji Sani Madugu, said he was at the palace to solicit the Sultan's support and royal blessing in the discharge of his assignments.
At this juncture, Your Eminence, I would like to beg you once more to inform the people to come forward with even their own vehicles they are using to come and pay their duty. We will not be pursuing them in Sokoto.
In Sokoto, Dabelela Dabore, NTA News.
The Nigeria Television Authority, NTA Sokoto Network Center, has honored its staff who distinguished themselves in service in the year 2015. The ceremony was held at the premises of NTA Sokoto, and Safia Abdullahi reports.
The end of the year award ceremony was organized by the management of NTA to honor its staff who performed creditably during the year 2015. Though all the staff of the station are dedicated to their responsibilities, the best among them were selected and rewarded in 3 categories. The first category are the recipients of Zonal Directors Award. The second category is award for outstanding performance to 2 staff from each department. The third category are those who received management commendation letters. The Zonal Director, Ahmad G. Yahaya, said the management deemed it necessary to reward hard work and dedication to duty.
That everybody knows that a staff motivated is an improved staff. So anybody that gets motivation, any staff that gets, will work harder. That is why we decided that this staff must be motivated so that in 2016 they will work harder than they did even in 2015.
Some of the awardees speak.
We are being informed to put more grease to our elbow.
We should be more dedicated to our jobs because in whatever we do, there is somebody out there who appreciates what you do.
If you work hard, you get recognized.
In Sokoto, Sophia Abdullahi, NTA News.
And that's it from here. It's back to Lydia. Good afternoon.
Many thanks, Zainab. You are watching Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We take a short break for some messages. Don't go away.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Brothers and sisters. Though we speak different languages and celebrate different cultures, we were still one Nigeria. There was no bombing, there was no kidnapping, and our children were not cultists. Now, we suspect one another as there are spreads of cultism, bombing, and kidnapping. How long shall this go on? Terrorism is alien, kidnapping is criminal, cultism is barbaric. Nigeria is a blessed country. Support the Nigeria Police and the fight against terrorism, kidnapping, and cultism. Always inform the police of any incident around you. Say something when you suspect something.
Remember, we all have a stake in building a crime-free Nigeria of our dream.
This message is from the Nigeria Police Force.
The disparity in public service salaries, the challenges of harmonization, and the fight against corruption. This is the focus on Tuesday Live on NTA this week. Tuesday Live, informative, educative, and engaging. Don't be left out. Join us.
The NTA Television College just invites you to broaden your marketing horizon and sharpen your skills on how to secure new customers while retaining old ones. Join us for 4 weeks intensive interaction with a high-profile faculty. Don't miss new ideas about customer services with accent on relationship marketing as the chief pivot of marketing in today's knowledge economy. Date, 15 February to 14 March 2016. Venue, NTA Television College, Wayfield, Jos. From the basics to the difficult and the esoteric, come interact with the best and the tested to put your marketing drive on autopilot. Cost fee, 80,000 Naira, inclusive accommodation and cost materials. For more information, please call this number 070-1111-1128. Signed, Management.
Are you aware that the death percentage attributed to Lassa fever cases is currently put at 43.2%? A figure considered very high? Lassa fever, an acute viral illness characterized by high fever, muscle aches, mouth ulcers, and bleeding in the skin, is harbored by rats and spread to humans via the urine and droppings of rats. To prevent Lassa fever, avoid any exposure with rodents, rats, as well as food and objects contaminated with rat secretions and excretions. Report all suspected cases of Lassa fever immediately to the nearest healthcare institution. Help prevent Lassa fever. This message is from the federal government of Nigeria.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
This week on Airtel Touching Lives, we visit Folusho Pamilerin, who was crippled in a motorcycle accident in 2012.
I'm very happy, at least I can move around now, not as when I'm stuck at home.
And we meet a woman that was beaten by her husband and then abandoned with the children.
I just told myself that I have to survive.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Welcome back. This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. The military and other security agencies say any acts by individuals or groups capable of security breach and causing economic sabotage in any part of the country will not be condoned. A statement by Director Defense Information Brigadier General Rabi Abubakar indicates that inasmuch as the military recognizes the supremacy of the Constitution, which guarantees freedom of expression and association, it also frowns against those who hide under it to stir up trouble and insecurity. The Defense Headquarters noted that it will continue to partner with other security agencies to protect and provide enabling environment to all citizens. Borno State Government has commended the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, for its prompt provision of food staff to internally displaced persons in the state. The Deputy Governor Usman Maman Dukwa made the commendation when he visited IDP's camps recently established in Dikwa. Yagumsu Bukar brings the details.
The Dikwa camp was established about 4 months ago following the recapture of the town by Nigerian troops. It accommodates over 52,000 IDPs from Dikwa, Mafa, Marte, Gala, Kalabalgi, Bama and Goza local government areas. The Deputy Governor, while addressing the IDP side, government has made adequate arrangement to establish camps in all the areas recaptured by Boko Haram insurgents to facilitate the return of the IDPs back to their respective communities. He said very soon the Dikwa camp will be decongested as IDPs from Bama, Mafa and Marte have started moving out of the camp, and that those from other local governments will follow suit immediately. The deputy governor commended the effort of the Nigerian army for the provision of adequate security at the camp and the rescue of over 1,000 people captured by Boko Haram in Boboshe, Garidawari and Mamari wards in Dikwa. Northeast Coordinator Neema Muhammad Kanar said the agency and the state government are planning to relocate the IDPs back to their respective local governments for easy management of the camps. The deputy governor later received 3 trucks of food items from the Northeast Coordinator Neema for the IDPs and also inspected the digging of trenches to secure the camp from possible attack by insurgents. In Maiduguri, Yagum Subukar, NTA News.
Focus on impacts of vandalism just as experts x-ray teaching and learning of mathematics. This and more from our Benin Network Center. Agatha is our guide. Agatha, take it from here.
Thank you, Lydia. Good evening and many thanks for joining us in Benin. The Executive Director, Media and Public Affairs, Edo State, Mr. John Mayaki, has organized the second edition of Roundtable with media practitioners in the state, with the theme, Edo State under Governor Adams Oshomole, Perspectives on Sectoral Achievements and Challenges. Bukola Urubusi reports that the discussants were government functionaries in the present administration.
Convener Mr. John Mayaki said the discussion is intended to clarify those easy policies of government.
Discussants will be expected to better enlighten the citizens, name the electorate of specific areas of their official function, as there may be misconceptions, misrepresentations, and even errors of judgment on specific government policies.
The General Manager, Edo Broadcasting Service, and Chairman on the occasion, Mr. Tunde Ebozoje, said though it's 9 months to the end of the present administration, much can still be achieved with quality of policies and programs. The 5 discussants had a complete analysis of Governor Oshomole's government in the different sectors. Representative of the Chairman, Edo State Internal Revenue, Mr. Emmanuel Uso, said beyond crude oil and federal allocation, Edo State can still survive with internally generated revenue. Some of the participants said the event is timely as it has brought government closer to the people.
I think this is something that we need, not only government, even the private sector.
Journalists are well informed, and you can imagine the quantum of information that will go out of this very gathering.
In Benin, Bukola Urubusi, NTA News.
120 students and 12 teachers from 3 selected junior secondary schools in Edo State have been working out approaches to make mathematics easy. The 10-day exercise organized by the National Mathematical Center in collaboration with the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, is to make students realize that mathematics is as simple as ABC. Ogochukwuka Ona reports.
The mental arithmetic and mathematics improvement training for the junior students from Edo Grammar School, Iyoba Girls Secondary School and Niger College is to establish that both halves of the brain can be used instead of relying only on the left half or the use of calculator in solving mathematics and arithmetic. It is also to encourage them to master the use of the abacus, develop speed and accuracy, and improve their general rate of comprehension of the subjects. This, the center did by engaging the students in different learning methods and demonstrations.
For students to actually do well, the teaching and learning of mathematics in the class is not enough. The morale, the brains of the student need to be worked upon.
You can now see that mathematics is fun. The students who went through various tests and excelled received prizes.
-1, 2, 2, -4, answer. Look it up, the answer is 30.
Yes! I'm very happy to be a winner of this competition because actually my dad has always encouraged me to work hard.
Concentrate and bring your mind down
bring your body and your all back together.
Mathematics kits and certificates were presented to the schools. In Benin, Ogochkuka Ona, NTA News.
And experts say for the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps to deliver on its mandate, the command must be properly repositioned with necessary training logistics and work in concert with other sister security agencies. These views were expressed at a stakeholders security summit on the role of the Corps in national security. It was organized by the Delta State Command. Austin Edemodu has the story.
With the increasing rate of attacks and sabotage on critical national assets and infrastructure, stakeholders say a summit as this is critical and strategic. Therefore, the cross-fertilization of ideas centered on maximizing the available resources to the core in tackling the security challenges. Some of the resource persons therefore suggested alternative dispute resolution in addition to conventional court system for prosecution of offenders and adopting proactive disaster management strategies.
The fight of every one of us. And without intelligence, we cannot know and figure out postal intelligence groups and organizations.
The Delta State Commandant of the Corps, Beatrice Arabo, said though the command is still faced with logistics and manpower challenges, the command is still determined to tackle the risks posed by pipeline vandalism.
It is my expectation that at the end of this summit, all will be more enlightened and will strengthen our vision as security agencies for a more secure nation.
There will be messages and interactive session bordering on strategies towards addressing the challenges facing the Corps in the fight against attacks on critical national assets and infrastructure. I'm Austin Edemodu, NTA News.
And Edo State Governor Adam Sushomole says the insecurity challenge being faced by the state requires concerted efforts of all and sundry to tackle it. The governor said this in an annual get-together organized by the Edo State Police Command. Lawrence Sukoji was there.
Governor Adam Sushomole, who was represented by the Commissioner of Information, Kazim Afegba, commended the efforts of the Commissioner of Police.
The members of the community must also, as a way of showing civic responsibility and support, encourage the Nigerian police to do well in their job by helping them to provide information.
The Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 5, Musa Daura, decried the loss of lives of police officers while discharging their duties.
Without you, you cannot reach to the promised land.
The Police Commissioner, Chris Ezike, who thanked stakeholders for their participation, appealed for a collaborative effort from the members of the public towards the fight against crime in the state.
To continue to give strategic intervention to the corporate world in the Edo State so that business can thrive, so that lives and property can be protected.
Highlights of the event was the presentation of awards to some policemen for gallantry and others also received for excellence in their areas of duties. In Benin, Lawrence Okoje, NTA News.
And that's our package. Lydia, it's back to you for the rest of news nationwide. Good evening.
Thank you, Agatha. The UNAIDS Executive Director, Michelle Sidibe, says having babies born without HIV in Nigeria is one of the legacies the world body hopes to see President Buhari leave behind. The UNAIDS boss is in Nigeria for discussion on how the country can fast-track its response towards ending HIV and AIDS by 2030. Health correspondent Rabi Abdallah has the report.
The visiting UNAIDS Executive Director met with the Director General of the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, Professor John Idoko, and the talking points revolved around the challenges that Nigeria is faced with and what needs to be done for the country to meet the 2030 target of zero AIDS. These include the huge gap in funding, treatment and prevention of mother-to-child transmission of the virus, as UNAIDS data show that 58,000 babies are born with HIV every year in the country, the highest in the world.
We know that when baby is born with HIV and this baby is not put on treatment, he has a 50% chance to die before his second anniversary. He has a 30% chance to die before his first anniversary. So that is a huge loss. South Africa used to have more babies than Nigeria. 70,000 babies born with HIV every year. Now, in less than 4 years, they managed to reduce it less than 6,000. So it's possible that we could do the same thing in Nigeria.
He spells out what Nigeria must do to win the war against the pandemic.
We need to start thinking about how we will really look for budget when we put our own people on treatment in Africa. We cannot believe that we will put millions of people on treatment and that this million will be for 30 years on treatment based on resources coming from PEPFAR or Global Fund.
VAT, Ghana uses 2% of its VAT to buy drugs. So, there are all these innovative things that, are being talked about. Then you have the private sector. So I think there are opportunities that we need to explore to see how we can, support treatment.
Although current prevalence rate stands at 3%, with 3.2% of its population infected, Nigeria has the second highest number of people living with HIV and AIDS in the world after South Africa. In Abuja, Rabi Abdallah, NTA News.
We now join Pam in Makurdi for more reports. Pam, you're on.
And welcome to Makurdi. The Nigerian Air Force has reiterated its resolve to acquire more platforms to help the Nigerian military in the fight against insurgency in the country. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, stated this during an inspection of logistics and facilities of the Nigeria Air Force Tactical Air Command, Makurdi. Oche Ngbede reports.
Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar said the Nigerian Air Force is re-strategizing its operations against insurgency to ensure that the victory against terrorism in the Northeast is sustained. He stressed the need to put adequate logistics in place as the military battles the Boko Haram terrorists.
The government is doing everything humanly possible to assist us. We're going to get additional platforms that will assist us to fight and make sure that we are able to be effective.
Inspecting facilities of the Tactical Air Command Makurdi, Air Marshal Abubakar expressed satisfaction with the equipment on ground. He further promised that the welfare of military personnel and the acquisition of more platforms will remain top priority of the Nigerian Air Force. Earlier on arrival, the Chief of Air Staff inspected a guard of honor in Makurdi. Oche Ngbede, NTA News.
And from Taraba State, Governor Darius Dixon Ishaku has urged the presidential delegation on recovery and peace-building assessment to the northeastern part of the country to extensively assess the level of devastation in the area to determine the quantum of assistance to the displaced persons. The governor was speaking when he received a delegation under the office of the Vice President at the Government House. Joseph Otsen has details.
The delegation, which is made up of representatives from Office of the President, World Bank, United Nations, and the European Union, is visiting conflict-affected states and states affected by influx of internally displaced persons.
Most times people just concentrate on, Borno, Adamawa, Yobe. We cannot undermine the impact of the conflict in those areas. But other states like Taraba, Gombe, Bauchi also are being stretched.
Representative of the World Bank, Mrs. Shazad Mombasa Ford, highlighted areas of assistance which include impact on infrastructure and social services, policies supporting peace building and economic recovery. Governor Darius Dixon Ishaku expressed relief for the visit, saying the state, which has its own crisis of ethno-religious, cattle rustling, and clashes between herdsmen and farmers, is overstretched with the influx of IDPs from the northeast.
Assistance in terms of health, social amenities, even education and other areas.
The delegation is expected to comply its assessment in 2 weeks' time and submit its report at the end of next month. In Jalingo, Joseph Utsen, NTA News.
And that will be it from Makurdi. Lydia, it's over to you.
Many thanks, Pam. Next, Global Tidbits with Gabriel Odu.
Indications that 3 mine workers trapped underground last week are still alive. The rescue workers believe that they have response to tapping sounds they have made. More than 70 mine workers managed to escape underground using an emergency exit. And from Somalia, Somali intelligence officials have released a video showing a passenger being given a laptop believed to have contained a bomb that blew a huge hole into a passenger plane last week. More than 20 people have been arrested in connection with the incident. However, in the United Kingdom, more than 13,000 homes are left without electricity after heavy rains and winds ravaged southwest England and Wales. Rail services have also been disrupted. In Turkey, 2 boats on their way to Greece have capsized, killing at least 35 migrants. Reports say at least 374 migrants have died this year alone, trying to cross into Europe. That's Global Tidbits. Gabriel Udu, NTA News.
Thanks, Gabriel. Amanzi Marcus has sports update next.
The International Federation of Football History and Statistics have named Kanu Nwankwo in the top 48 legends of football worldwide. The body released the first phase of the list, which includes Brazilian great Pelé and Ronaldo da Lima. Notable Africans on the list include former World Player of the Year George Weah, Roger Milla, Rabah Mejeh, Mohamed Aboutrika, Mahmoud El Khatib, and former Bafana captain Lucas Radebe. IFHS was formed in 1984 under FIFA's approval, focusing on archiving football records, statistics, and records of associations across the globe. Kanu Nwankwo is the last Nigerian to win the African Footballer of the Year in 1999. He played for Ajax, Inter Milan, and Arsenal.
Kanu was recognized not just because of the skills he has shown during play, but because of also his attitude. You can never associate Kanu with controversy.
Efforts are being intensified by the Nigeria Cricket Federation to ensure that the country gains promotion to Division 4 at the 2016 ICC World Division 5 tournament built for New Jersey, United Kingdom in May. A 3-phase trial campaign in Abuja with about 45 players is expected to produce the final team for the New Jersey tournament.
We have been able to bring in new people, under 19 players. These are people that represented Nigeria in the last under-19 World Cup competition in Tanzania. So most of them now have now moved into the senior team.
Denver Broncos produced a defensive masterclass to upset the Carolina Panthers 24-10 to emerge victorious in the Super Bowl 50 competition. Panthers were heavy favorites, having lost only once all season. And with the league's most valuable player of the season, Cam Newton, at quarterback, they were destined to win. With Sports News Update, Amanzi Marcus, NTA News.
And that wraps up Nationwide. We do thank you for your time. Have a wonderful evening. I'm Lydia Bassi.